Hello everyone, my name's Vicki and I'm your storyteller for today. And today's chapter is called Daphne and the Smiley Shells. It's a story that I wrote. I hope you enjoy it. This time, I think I can do it, said Daphne the little dolphin to herself, trembling with fear. She tried to steady herself on her surfboard as the next wave rolled towards her, bigger and bigger. Here goes, Daphne thought nervously as her surfboard began to wobble. And then, like so many times before, splush! She fell in the water again. As she came up to the surface, Daphne could hear some of her friends laughing at her, whilst her teacher, he simply shook his head. Daphne headed for home. I'm confused, she muttered to herself, trying not to cry. I thought friends were supposed to be kind. She was so deep in thought that she almost swam into the mouth of a great big basking shark and jumped out of her skin. Why is the world so scary? Daphne groaned and swam on home as fast as she could. A few days later, Daphne's mum was fed up of her moping about, so she sent her off to see her Grandad. Now, what's all this I hear about you getting under your mother's fins and being miserable? Grandad asked her. Daphne looked down at the seabed. Come on, said Grandad. It can't be that bad. Yes, it can, said Daphne defiantly. I'm no good at school. I'm too clumsy to learn to surf, so my friends all laugh at me. And well, I'm frightened in case the big creatures pick on me as well. Grandad thought for a moment. Well, he said at last, I used to feel a bit like that when I was your age. But then I went to see my Grandad. What happened? Asked Daphne. Grandad smiled. He taught me a very useful trick, and I still use it even today. Daphne felt herself cheering up. What is it? What's the trick? Grandad pointed to a shelf where he kept a glass jar with shells in it. No ordinary shells, but shells with smiley faces painted on them. Daphne had often wondered about the smiley shells, but never had the courage to ask about them. They looked so pretty and lots of fun. That's my banker smile jar, said Grandad. Just hearing the name made Daphne smile. This is how it works, said Grandad, lifting the jar down from the shelf. Every evening after tea, I sit down and think of at least 5 good things about me. It could be things I've done, or it could just be something I like about myself. What 5 things will you think about today, Grandad? Grandad looked down at Daphne for a moment. Well, today I'm enjoying spending time with you. Oh, this morning I helped old Jimmy Jellyfish get untangled from a plastic bag that some human being had thrown into the sea. Remember, you can include things you would like to be true too. Daphne's eyes grew wide. Really? You can wish things to be true? Oh yes, said Grandad. You see, it's a question of learning to believe in yourself. Daphne trusted her Grandad, so she listened carefully to what he said next. Just say, I'm happy that, about something you want to be true. That's not so very difficult, is it? Daphne looked across at the jar again and giggled, because all the shells were smiling back at her. What do you do when the jar gets full? Daphne asked. Recycle, my girl, recycle. I take them out and I start all over again. Daphne laughed out loud. I love you, Grandad. Quite so, and I love you too. Now, it's time to celebrate. How about one of your grandma's seaweed muffins? Back at home, with a pocket full of Smiley shells her Grandad had given her, Daphne asked her mum if she could have an empty jar. Her mum didn't ask what the jar was for. She was just happy that Daphne looked less down in the dumps. The first shell was easy. I'm so happy that I told Grandad how I was feeling. The shell hit the bottom of the jar. She pondered for a while. I know. I'm happy that I painted a smiley face on my Banker Smile jar. Plink, another shell landed in the bottom of the jar. Then she tidied her bedroom and put another shell in the jar. That felt good. The next day at school, Daphne felt a little bit more confident, and she didn't even mind too much when her friends laughed at her as she tried to surf. That evening, Daphne thought about why she was feeling a bit better. I'm happy that I'm not so scared of the shadows, she began, and put a shell in the jar. After a few moments, she picked up another shell. I'm happy that I've got nice flippers. Plink. Then she remembered about saying things she would like to be true. She carefully chose a big shell with a very happy smile on it. I'm happy that I'm brave, and I'm happy that I can surf. And she thought about how wonderful it was skipping along on top of the waves. Daphne carried on with the smiley shells. She had good days and days that weren't quite so good, until gradually she noticed that the dolphins that she thought were her friends didn't come to play with her anymore. But she had new friends who were much more fun to be with. Her teacher told her he could see she was really making great progress, and even the bigger dolphins and sea creatures, they just didn't seem scary anymore. Daphne was even happy spending time on her own, surfing the waves and collecting more shells to take home. Daphne realised, just as Grandad had promised, that by believing she could be happy, she really was happy. And that's the end of tonight's chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Night night. Sleep tight. And see you soon for another bedtime chapter.